Good morning. It's time for Healing with the Blues. Healing with the Blues. That's right, I'm healing with the blues. I've got nothing left to lose. That's why I'm healing with the blues. Such pain inside. The love that's there for me, I have denied. I've never had the blues this long, this deep, this wide. That's why I'm healing with the blues. And boy, are we feeling the blues lately? I would say so. But I want to talk to you today about how you can recover from losing a loved one from COVID. You know, we've had so much grief and so much shock from people that we've lost. And we think that it's not going to happen, but then suddenly it does. And it's like this really weird shock to our system. And that's what it is. It's a shock. The body doesn't really understand what to do in that situation. And so it becomes a shocking thing. So, what happens when we go into shock, when we're having a shock experience? Well, what happens is the body goes into fight or flight response. So, the heart rate goes up, the blood pressure goes up, the pupils dilate to get more information. Bladder control might be lost. That cold sweat that happens, that feeling of the body just losing blood, that's because all the blood is rushing to the organs and or actually to the periphery. So it's not feeding the inner part of the body where you feel warm and good. That cold feeling that happens in shock is all the blood rushing to the periphery. So you can run or fight, but here's the thing, freeze happens as well. And I'm talking about this anatomical stuff because I want you to understand that it's important for you to know that there's no blame or shame here. There's nothing in having a shock happen to your system, whether it's emotional or physical, mental or spiritual. That shock is a physical thing that happens. And your body memorizes these things so that when it happens again or something that's similar happens, that's what we call a trigger. Something similar happens, the body knows exactly what to do. So it memorizes these patterns of physiology. But here's the kicker, it doesn't stop. A lot of the time it doesn't stop. And so that's why we can have physical symptoms when we receive a shock of something and there's something similar that shows up. And I've given you this example before, but here it is again. Let's say you're riding your bike when you're a little kid and you're riding across the street, you've checked both ways, but suddenly a car comes out of nowhere and hits you or stops suddenly and scares you and you fall over, and it's a red car. Now, every time you see a red car, your body's going to go into that pattern of physiology because it memorized it. It was important for the body to memorize it because it was integral to your survival. So the body knows two things: survive, not survive. So if it perceives not survive, it's going to do what it has to do to survive. The same thing happens when we have a loved one pass that we weren't expecting, and especially in COVID, because a lot of times we thought, I know I did, it's just a simple flu. It's not going to hurt anybody in that way. But as people started dying and dying needlessly and dying from being intubated and dying from not being able to breathe, laying flat on their backs, which is the opposite. You want to lay on your stomach if your lungs are compromised. This was happening so fast and so much. Think of the healthcare workers overwhelmed with this, watching people that they couldn't help just pass in front of them over and over again. And if it's your loved one, then it's a greater shock than that, because you would take them to the hospital thinking that they were going to get well and they were going to get help, and they wouldn't come out again. And this shock, this emotional shock, we're not taught to deal with those. We're not taught to deal with these things in a way that's conducive to our own healing. So it feels like it never heals. It's always running under the surface. The smallest thing can trigger it. When years ago, when our son was stillborn, anytime that my husband left my sight, I would think, oh, he might die. Because it was such a strange thing to never see the baby alive, right? And then when somebody does show up, they're not there. They're not, their soul isn't there. Their body is there, but their soul isn't there. So I would have this fear that he was going to die. My husband would die. And then I would start thinking, well, what if everybody dies? So we go into this situation of this spiral of thinking that brings us down into this experience of not being able to be in happiness and joy and peace and calm. We can't do it because our body is already taking us to shock. So when we go into shock, one of the first things that you can do after this happens, because it's hard to think about it when you're in the situation, obviously, but after you come out of it, you can do 4-count breathing. In fact, you can have someone guide you through that. I have a patient who was an EMT worker, and she had someone in the ambulance that she couldn't administer anything to, but she taught him 4-count breathing and just breathe with me. And she would count it out. And that's what kept him alive until he got the help that he needed. So I want to just remind you that 4-count breathing is such a simple thing. It's so easy to do, and it will save your life, literally, because those people who are going into those situations, EMT workers, emergency workers, people in the ER, they are going into this fight or flight response constantly, and they have a 10-year lower life expectancy. So what are we going to do to offset that? Put ourselves out of fight or flight and put ourselves in rest, digest, and heal. The quickest way to do that is through your breathing. So let's do it today together. And I want you to actually, if you can, think of a time when you felt that fear. So go ahead and close your eyes. You don't have to go deeply into it, but go ahead and close your eyes and just imagine that scene. And now I want you to breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2 through your nose. 4. Hold it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can keep doing this. You can breathe normally right now. You can keep doing this and practice doing this, because when you practice it, then as soon as a situation comes up, it might be you're in the car and somebody cuts you off in traffic, you can do 4-count breathing. I can't tell you how important it is for you to do this, because it can give you years to your life. And when you're thinking of your loved one, think of the happiness that you had. Think of the good times that you have. Think of those memories that you have of that loved one. Laughing, being silly, enjoying each other. Think of those things. Because we all know that this is not how they wanted to go. This is not how they wanted to pass on. No one wants to pass on from that COVID experience. We want to live. And they say that you don't die until the last person says your name the last time. Keep them alive in your heart. And as you're doing 4-count breathing, Think of those happy moments that you've had with them in your life. Because you can do that. You can keep them alive in your heart. That's their spirit with you. That's you remembering what was perfect and wonderful about them, what you wouldn't change for anything, and allow that to happen. You can recover from this shock. Most people don't do anything to help themselves recover. Time heals all wounds, right? That's not true. It's just not true. Time doesn't heal all wounds. What happens is they get buried deeper and deeper, and the wound is still there. So when we're doing individual work together, when I'm working with you on a one-to-one basis, we can go deeply in there, and it's not painful to do it, but feelings will come up, and that's okay. You're allowed to have feelings. You're supposed to have feelings. You're a human being, and we see and experience the world through our feelings. You just haven't been taught how to acknowledge and release them. And that's what we do in the healing work that we do in Quantum Healing International and Healing with the Blues. That's the work that we do. Make it easy, make it simple, make it safe. Make it safe for you to feel your feelings, acknowledge them, and release them. Because when you do that, you're free. You're free. And you can think about your loved one, and it won't be painful. It'll be loving. It'll be healing. It'll be honoring them. So you can start with 4-count breathing. And then if you want to go further with that, we have some programs that you can do. You can check out the quantumhealinginternational.com site and look for programs, and you'll see some of the programs that we do. And they're all personally made for you. So you'll see an outline there of what we do in each one, but we can always change it around to work exactly the way you need it to work. And I would say that one of the things that most people don't realize is that you can have assistance in this kind of healing, and it doesn't have to be drugs or medication. It doesn't have to be talk therapy. You don't have to talk it all through again. Listen, you know your sad story. You don't need to hear it again. But what we do need to do is go in and bring those feelings out in a safe and simple way and allow you to release them. So acknowledge, honor, and release them. This is the best way for you to be in present time where everything's really okay, because that's where healing happens. We can heal the past, we can get ready for the future, and we can be here now in the healing way. So I hope that you'll take advantage of the opportunity to have a call with me. I'll put that in the link below here. Just reach out if it feels like something that you want to pursue in any way, shape, or form. This is a no obligation call. We just want to see, is this a good fit for you? Is this what you need? And find out if that's going to work for you. So it's all about you. It's all about what you can accomplish. So we want to honor and acknowledge and release those negative feelings that are keeping you held down and allow you to have the life that you really want, a life of happiness and peace and safety and calm. Well, I'm Dr. Tanya English, and thanks for joining me. I'll be back either later this week or next week, probably same time next week for sure. But if something else comes up and I need to talk about it with you, then I'll be here. Much love, many blessings. Have a great day.